Okay, no other questions? Art, coming up here for 2013 Fall Athletic Summary.
Well, sorry about parking issues if anybody had any, but we are in the midst of our 11th annual Bill Vandenberg Turkey Tournament. We actually keep expanding every year, so we actually have 5 games going on right now, 3 sophomore girls games, a varsity girls game, and a varsity boys game. So that's why we don't have parking right now. But the 3 documents, these are basically kind of the exact same as I did the last couple years, just updated obviously with this year's information. So the first document, just the memo page, just describes kind of some the sports that we have, the levels that we have, and then starts giving you the numbers in regards to how many athletes we had come out this year. So you can see in the box on that first page, on the memo page, we had 390 athletes this year come out in the fall, which is 9 more than last year, but we did have an increase in our student population of 1,510. We were at 1,448 last year. So as far as percentage-wise, we had a slight dip, a 0.5%, but relatively the same. I was talking with Ms. Bosma earlier. I mean, a lot of our sports are going to be kind of where they're going to be unless we grow, to 1,800 kids or something like that. Where there's obviously still some sports that we want to get back to where we were a couple years ago. Our cross-country teams, you can see, are still low compared to where they were 3 years ago. But a lot of our other sports are still, they're kind of right where they were, give or take 5 here or 4 here. So I think that number is pretty accurate of what we'll probably see on a consistent basis for the fall season. Right around the 26% of our student body will be involved with a fall sport. The second page is the summary of each one of our sports, and I'll just go through real fast and highlight some of our accomplishments from the fall. As we recognized at the last board meeting, our girls cross country team obviously had a record-setting year. We took 2nd at the regional, 5th at the sectional, 19th at the state meet, 2nd in our conference, 1st at our RB invite. We had our first state champion in girls cross country, as well as our first female state champion in school history with Mylene. And then you can see our other runners and what place they came in. We had 3 all-conference athletes, and then the 1 all-state athlete. Our boys cross-country team took 1st at the regional again. I believe, I was trying to look right before I came, I think it's their 4th or 5th in a row at our regional. We took 9th at the sectional, 4th in our conference. One thing to point out, our conference is extremely strong in cross-country. We had 2 of our conference teams place in the top 5 on the boys' side, and I believe 1 or 2 in the girls' side too. So our conference is very proud of the level of competition on the cross country. Football, varsity was 1-8, 1-3 in the MSC. Sophomores were 2-7. Freshman A team was 2-7. B team was 0-6. This is one of the first years since I've been involved with RB in my 13th year that we had a B schedule, almost a full B schedule, which is a great thing. We have a lot more kids coming out and trying to get them as many games as we can. So we're looking next year also to hopefully have as close to a full B schedule as we can. Our boys golf were 6-5 overall, 2-4 in our conference, 4th place at the regional. We did a regional medalist, which is that he took 1st place at the regional, which has only happened a few times in school history. Austin, we had 3 golfers advance to the sectional. We took 6th place in our conference. Frost Soft was 3-7. We had 1 all-conference athlete. Our girls golf was 6th place at the regional. We did have a golfer advance to the sectional for the first time in a few years. 4th place at the MSC invite. That was a combination MSC schools in another conference. We're very excited for next year with the new conference. We're actually going to have enough schools to have a girls conference tournament and to be a conference sport next year, so we're excited about that. Boys soccer, we were 7-11-3 overall, 4-2 in the MSC, took 3rd place. We beat St. Lawrence in the first round and then lost to St. Joe 4-0 in the regional final. St. Joe's, we're kind of been going back and forth every year. We'll beat them, they beat us, and we beat them, so we've definitely built a rivalry with them. We had a lot of success at our lower levels. We're very excited moving forward with them. We're 11-5-2 on the sophomores and 11-4-3 on the freshmen. We had 4 all-conference athletes, including the conference MVP with Santiago Beltran was our MSC MVP. Girls swimming, we took fourth at the sectional. We had one state qualifier, Sydney. That was the second year in a row that she qualified for the 100-yard breaststroke. She finished 52nd in the state. Actually, the second year in a row that she finished 52nd in the state, so quite an accomplishment to make it 2 years in a row. Fourth in the independent conference, JV took second. Our girls tennis team was 16-5 overall, 2-3 in conference. Fourth at the sectional. Took first at a couple of invites we were in, including our own, and fourth in our conference. Our JV was 14-1. We lost one match, 5-1 in the MSC, which they are technically conference titles. We don't give it for lower levels, but they won the conference tournament. First place at the East Aurora. 2-1 were our freshman and sophomore. We had one all-conference athlete. Girls volleyball was 20-16 overall, 7-5 in conference, which was fourth place. We beat Whitney Young in the first round of the regionals. We lost to Downers Grove North in the regional final. This is our second year that we're in the top class for volleyball. So we're kind of adjusting our schedules to try to compete against some of those schools that we're going to see in the playoffs. We won two of the tournaments that we were in. Sophomores were 16-15 overall, 9-3 in conference, and freshmen A were 17-16, 3-8 in the conference, and the B team was 10-1, 7-4 in the conference. We had three all-state or all-conference volleyball players. So that's a recap of our fall. The third page is the pay to participate information for the last 4 years. Kind of go from left to right. On the left hand is our 2010 before we had any cost to pay to participate. So you can see our numbers per sport and kind of work our way down to show this year. You can see our numbers, like I said earlier, are pretty consistent, kind of fluctuate a little bit up and down. A couple of our sports that increased quite a bit this year, our girls golf went from 10 to 19 this year. Our boys golf went from 22 to 31. You know, the girls cross country went down just slightly, but for the most part we were kind of where we were at last year. And we had 9 more athletes, but like I said, our population grew a little bit, so the actual percentage dropped just slightly. See the money
for the fall sports where the pay to participate says 200. Will that be a sliding scale this year, or
so in the fall?
Because it's the fall, it's the first one.
The fall is the first one, so the fee is still 200 for everybody. So from this data, we don't know if the impact of changing it to 200, 150, 100 has affected us yet, obviously, because everybody's at 200. So after the winter season, we'll see if the numbers increase, compared to last year, because now the fee has been lowered by $50 if it's their second sport. If it's their first sport, it's still going to be 200. So we're going to have obviously a little different chart coming in to the winter to try to show, if it has changed anything. So the money collected as of last week, $63,530, 40 cents. There's 3 ways that families can pay right now is the full amount, half, or they can be put on a payment plan with some of the other fees. So that's why the bottom line is not, divisible by 100 at this point. But and the one thing, we did have a pretty big increase in the amount of waivers. We went from 29 to 45. So not sure, I don't really know the reason why, but obviously we just have a few more families that are on free lunch, so that's where those kids come from.
Any questions for Art?
I have a question, Art.
Yes.
How do you use this information, like with the results of the teams, et cetera, like their records or whatever, to evaluate, whether we should be looking at different coaches or different schedules or different other, you mentioned on girls volleyball that you're trying to adjust the schedule because they're in a higher class.
Right.
I know I talked to myself why we play all these tough non-conference teams on football. So how do you use the information to, advise the administration, advise us of whether we should be making some kind of changes in the future?
Each sport is obviously a little different depending on playoff things, and that, now with the change in conference, you're going to have a locked-in conference schedule, and you're going to have fewer non-conference games. In some of our sports, quite honestly, it's tougher to find the non-conference games. You kind of just do a blanket email and who has this week open, and then you try to fill in. When it comes to making schedules to try to help you get into the playoffs or have success in the playoffs, you do look at okay, who's gonna be in our sectional this year, and you try to play some of them, because the way it works is at the end of the season, the head coaches from all the schools in your section will go on and vote, and they seed you. So if you've played some common opponents and you've had some success, then you can get a higher seed, which will give you a higher seed in the playoffs. So we look at it every year and try to change it based upon success levels, or are we playing schools that we can't compete with for that given year or 2 years, and then try to adjust that. Usually, most of the schools are 2-year contracts, so it's a home and away. But it is something we look at: are we successful with who we're playing? If not, then let's find a better fit for us. Is it the coaching that is the problem, or is it the schedule that's the problem? So it certainly plays into how we do it, and we kind of have to take each sport by itself and see where we're at. But with the addition of the schools in our conference now, we'll have 2 divisions. We'll have a conference games, and then we'll have crossover games against what is our conference but not our division. So our non-conference we'll actually have to move some that we have traditionally played, because we won't have as many openings now. So.
But how about the other piece on the personnel? Because that we approve. We don't approve your schedule, whatever, but each year you come through Kevin to us to say, here's who I recommend to coach these coaches for these sports or whatever. So how do we know how you evaluate to say, I don't want to pick on a coach or a sport,
Oh, no, sure, yeah.
but say, okay, you know what, this sport, if you go back 10 years, we had a bunch of state competitors, and
Right.
the last couple of years, we haven't been able to do that. Is it just a change, just happens to be we haven't had as many students come out, or does it
Right.
happen to be maybe we should be looking at a different coach to try to build the
Yeah, it's part of the
program?
evaluation process. As each of the head coaches get evaluated by me on a standard evaluation form. So, and that's part of the piece. Let's look at the history of where have we been? Are we down? Are we up? Are we maintain? I talk to the coaches a lot of, okay, we're kind of stuck here. What can we do to get to that next level? Whether it's try to establish a feeder program. Is that where we're missing, because we're getting kids that haven't competed in that sport? Okay, that's how we can raise it. So it's part of the component of evaluating each coach at the end of the year.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, Artie, thank you very much.
Thanks, Art.